Please note we'll be discussing a plot point from episode 6 of The Acolyte, so if you haven't seen it, consider this a spoiler warning.
Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hi, this is Nick Anastasiou, story editor on Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Bad Batch. And you are listening to Aggressive Negotiations.
Well, hello and welcome to Aggressive Negotiations, coming at you from unknown planet? Huh? Interesting. Yeah. Hi. All right. Well, my name is Jedi Master Matthew Rushing, and with me, as he is always, unknown Jedi Master? Oh no, John Mills. John, it's great to have you.
Yeah, you know, I'm a little discombobulated because I don't know the point of a title card if you're not going to put information on it that's pertinent to anything. But that's cool. It's cool. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, I'm thrilled to be here because Master Rushing, this is one of those times where I think we're going to be grabbing the third rail and we're going all the way to the Hamptons, as George Costanza might have said. So that's always an exciting instance for me.
Man, well, very exciting, very exciting. Before we dive into the topic, though, of course, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, and we would appreciate if you go over, give us a star rating review on Apple Podcasts. It's been a while since we have gotten a review over there, and, you know, it helps other people find the show with the, I would say, plethora of Star Wars podcasts that are out there. And yes, I do know what a plethora is. You can also find us all over social media. We're on X Twitter at the Jedi Masters. We're also on the entire network at Join Nerd Party. You can find the entire network online at thenerdparty.com. We're on Instagram at The Nerd Party, and we're on Facebook at facebook.com/The Nerd Party. And so, John, we have, of course, and as we're recording this, we are I got a few weeks left of the Acolyte, and I honestly, you know, as we did in a previous show where we talked about Jedi fashion, which turned out to be a gangbuster of an episode, the show has brought up, I think, an interesting question that as we were discussing back and forth, we realized, I think this is a good show topic because there are other places in Star Wars where this applies. It's not just about the Acolyte. And so anybody who's watching the show, you know the moment that we're going to be referencing here. It's the fact that Sol doesn't realize and can't sense, or at least does not sense, that May and Osha have traded places with him. And I was really interested because as we're talking about this, we're going back and forth. I think that you may have brought up some very good defensible reasons as to why this was the case, but from previous episodes of Star Wars.
Well, we never really comment on a show while it's on the air sort of thing. So we're really just separating it out from that and just talking about this one aspect. And the question of how well or how accurate a Jedi sensing another Force user can be or is, but there is a tradition in Star Wars of people both sensing and not sensing other Force users, even ones that they're looking for. And I think the first one to sort of throw out there, I mean, the thing is, I'd be happy to have somebody say, oh, well, no, you're misinterpreting this, or I've missed the mark on something, because my desire is not to be an apologist either way. I'm simply presenting, you know, a certain point of view, as somebody might say. And, you know, I think the first example to throw out there is actually in Return of the Jedi. Straight up from Return of the Jedi, Vader senses Luke on the shuttle flying to the moon of Endor, and he's flying there. Vader senses him, goes back and reports it to the Emperor, and the Emperor challenges Vader and states that he has not sensed that Luke is near. So I would say that's one of your examples right there. Am I applying this too broadly? Is it a distance thing? Vader was physically closer to Luke, and the Emperor didn't, but the Emperor seemed surprised that he did not sense Luke since he was reaching out in the Force to find him.
Yeah, I think that is a good pull in the sense that, you know, like you mentioned, you do have the character of the Emperor. We know him to be incredibly strong in the Force and be sensing things that many other people are not. And so I think that is actually a possible good defense as to why this would be the case. And like you mentioned, there is the moment of the Emperor, it seems like almost at that point, actively searching for the presence of Luke, because we know that he's felt Luke previously, because that's happened in The Empire Strikes Back when they have their conversation over hologram, or like, as I like to call, holotext. And so there's that moment where, he's talking about he sensed this great disturbance in the Force, and it's the son of a Skywalker, especially in the special edition, making it a little bit clearer. And so I think that is definitely something that speaks to that being the case. We also have the fact that Vader in the original Star Wars there has his daughter on the Death Star and is, putting her through torture devices and does not realize that who this is. Which, I would counter with that one. It's a little bit more, maybe slightly understandable, since we never get a clear sense that even Leia has any idea who her father ever was.
Right.
And even from the Kenobi series. And she was raised with a clear idea of having a father figure with Bail Organa, but she did know who her mother was. So she had some idea of who she was, which is interesting. So there's that connection. So that one's a little bit muddier to me as to why, may or may not happen, or be understandable. It would be understandable, I think, for Vader not to have necessarily sensed that. Because I also think, too, twins, as we've seen in the Star Wars galaxy, don't seem to be all of that prevalent. And so the idea that his wife, even if she had, he knew she was pregnant, but the fact that she was having twins was a surprise to everyone. And so I could see where that one, it's a little bit muddier in some ways.
Well, you can even extend that forward and say Luke is surprised by the fact that Leia is his sister.
And yes, they have kissed twice.
Well,
so.
I mean, even setting that little bit aside, when Luke figures it out when he's on Dagobah, he's legitimately surprised. He's like, Leia is my sister. And Obi-Wan's like, your insight serves you well. So I think when we're talking about a Force user sensing another Force user, there seems to be textually, going all the way back to the originals, there has to be some sort of intent behind the person trying to find them. The person actively is trying to reach out and sense something, unless there's a pre-existing bond, because Vader also senses Obi-Wan. Now, the easy real-world explanation for not sensing Leia is obviously Leia wasn't Luke's sister until they decided finally to make her his sister, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
While conversely, maybe something about a past relationship, and this would actually work against the Acolyte here, where something about having a past bond makes you more predisposed to sensing that person, because the Falcon is sitting there. Vader walks out. Is like, I sense something, a presence I've not felt since. And then he stalks off. So obviously, if there's a previous relationship with someone, you can walk in the same room and you're like, and like he figures it out. He's like, Obi-Wan's here. And like he knows it's Obi-Wan. He's already figured it out just by walking in the same room. So I mean, does that defeat the whole counter argument that I have right here, that if you have a previous personal relationship with someone, they go off like a beacon?
See, that's the thing I think about, the question in the Acolyte that really, I think, bothers me, is because Soul has this deep relationship with Osha, right? Mm-hmm. And we've seen that in the show. I mean, it's been portrayed how much he cares about her, what he's willing to do for her. And it's not only that, but I mean, there's literal like physical contact that happens. He hugs her, and the show, it seems to me, makes pretty clear that he doesn't know who she is until the ROUS tells him. And the little tracker dude, the rodent of unusual size, for those who aren't in the know. And it's like, I guess the show's only real defense is the fact that maybe he wants this so badly, his judgment is clouded until it's not. But again, that seems so strange to me because, again, there's such a physical closeness with the characters and there's that close relationship. And so, I don't know, are there any other instances in Star Wars where we really get places where characters who should be able to sense one another don't sense one another?
I mean, you could make the argument Obi-Wan on Geonosis, but if we're going with the personal relationship angle, that would explain why Dooku is kind of blind to him, as Dooku is not calm and at peace, because Yoda says, you have to be calm at peace to sense things completely. So that's an out for Soul right there. And there seems to be some sort of effort. But again, there's no personal relationship between Obi-Wan and Dooku. They've never met each other before Attack of the Clones, I think. And
yeah, it's correct. I mean, they even talk about the idea that, Qui-Gon always spoke very highly of you, but they had never met.
Yeah. And there is, let's talk about the largest example. The largest unbelievable, amazing example is Sidious himself. Literally being in meetings with the Jedi, and the only ones that are, feel he's a little bit sus on screen in Attack of the Clones, Yoda knows something's not quite right about this dude, but it's not like he's like, that guy's tapping into the dark side of the Force.
Right.
Like and Windu knows something's not right, but he doesn't know what. And so we could extend maybe that May is consciously shielding herself, and we could then extend it to Obi-Wan and say Obi-Wan is doing some sort of technique that shields himself from detection because he knows there's going to be a Force user there. So there are disciplines you can enact or something like that. But I mean, the brass tacks of it, as much as I'm a longstanding Star Wars fan and I hate to use this sort of get out of jail free card, is simply the fact that it seems to work when it needs to and doesn't work when it doesn't need to. But given the specific function of this, I would have to go with the Palpatine sort of thing, because May shows up and I forget, Trinity, Carrie-Anne Moss, I don't remember the character's name.
Yeah.
Does not sense May until, May shows up. So maybe there is something to say for a conscious cloaking, if you will.
I definitely see as to where you are with the Palpatine thing. And in all honesty, I've always believed that Palpatine himself is doing something specific to not allow himself to be detected. I mean, that's the only way, right? That could be a possibility, that so many Jedi could come in contact with the Emperor or could come in contact with Senator Palpatine and then, Chancellor Palpatine and not have any clue. Although, as you mentioned, it does seem that as the dark side grows in power, we do somewhat see Yoda become even more and more suspicious of him, and therefore sense that something isn't quite right. And so even as hard as it seems like Palpatine is working to shield himself, he can't do it completely at that point. And so...
Well, I mean, just to add on, in Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan says that something is surrounding the Chancellor. They think that the Dark Lord of the Sith is influencing things. They just don't know that it's Palpatine himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, great point. No, it's an excellent point. And I think too, in the end, when Obi-Wan in episode 3 says, we were all deceived by a lie, I think that also seems to indicate that something's been going on where the veil has finally been dropped.
Mm-hmm.
and the Jedi can sense that this dude is not good. And that only happens when, Order 66 happens and he's helped Anakin make his turn. And that's where all the cards are put on the table through the Force almost. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's a really interesting question. I think, the Acolyte will be ending here in a few weeks, and we'll be covering it here in a crossover with the 602 Club again and talking through the whole show. And I think we'll be able to get further into details on all of this. But I think the only thing that makes me trepidatious about extending, I would say, courtesy on this one is just the way in which the show has, I think, continuously done things for plot reasons, other than for logical story reasons so far. And again, we haven't seen the whole show, so things could completely turn around on that, right? With having the full story but at the end. But I think that's just where I kind of come down to. This one seems almost like you mentioned. It's like it works when it needs to work and it doesn't when it doesn't. So many of the others, I can find logical story reasons for this to happen. And this one just feels like an instance where it's not a story reason. I just need this to happen for the plot to work the way I want it to. And I feel like that's almost a different thing.
It is a different thing. And I don't dismiss what you're saying. And like you said, we'll get to the Acolyte on a special crossover show. Fair enough. I think that every franchise has something that makes a misstep along the way. And I think the fun exercise of this is we are the longstanding fans where if something's going to die on a hill, I am always going to default to, well, is there some other instance where I can present evidence to the court that we can construct a headcanon, even if the script itself fails to outline something? We can construct a headcanon where we say, you know what, let's agree that this is what is happening about it, regardless of any other real world thing that plays into it. And I know you and I both know all of the pejoratives that could be thrown at people like us who do those sorts of things. But let's be honest, this is part of the fun of being a fan, is we give as many chances as possible to what the casual observer might see as a misstep. Whereas I'll extend it out to a larger sort of thing, just another long running franchise, because I remember somebody stitched something together after First Contact, because Riker, when they're going up on the ship, says you can see Lake Armstrong. You know, he describes some sort of development on the moon that you can see, and then they go back through like all of these episodes on Next Generation where you see Earth's moon and there's nothing on it. It looks just like our moon now. And it's like, well, okay, right? That sort of thing. So it can be fun as fans to sort of like find a reason for those things, to let them slide, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the end, this is one of those places where it'll be fascinating when we finally do reach the Acolyte as it's finished and we get a chance to talk through the entire series. I think everybody is waiting with bated breath for our review of that show. And don't worry, it will be coming. It'll probably be in August, because I think that's when our schedules are going to allow that to happen. So again, just hold your horses. We're going to make it for you. We're not going to leave you hanging. But John, if people wanted to catch up with you and see what other things are happening for you, especially as we record this, 4th of July tomorrow, if they want to see you shoot off your finger with a Roman candle, where would they find you?
Well, I'm going to be playing with lightsaber fireworks. They're very small.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, they're very small, but way more dangerous. But of course, it's going to look like the end of the Return of the Jedi, both regular and special editions with all of the fireworks going off. So you can go ahead, you can reach me at Kessel Junkie, and you can find me here on the network co-hosting a show called House Lights, where we look at the work of directors. And as we record this, we're going through the 1990s work of Roland Emmerich. And then we're going to be diving into the biopic work of Oliver Stone. So I'm thrilled about that one. I hope everybody comes over and joins us.
Does that mean that you're hitting Independence Day on Independence Day?
Right around Independence Day. Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yes, we are.
Okay. I mean, because, if that's not a 5-star film, I don't know what is.
Well, I encourage you to tune in to find out what my rating is and what my co-stars.
I'm just kidding. It's not really 5 stars. It's just 5 stars of fun, really.
It's definitely a time. Yeah, I definitely remember having a time. I also remember it featuring trailer, I believe, for the Star Wars Special Edition when it came out. So that was all the more reason to see it a second time. And I can say that you can also find me, like you've mentioned, we're going to have a crossover episode with the 602 Club. And I love being a guest star over there. And that's one of the places they can find you over on the TFM network. But where else can they find you?
Well, you can find me all over social media under the name Matt Rushing02. Of course, you can find me here on the network with a completed show called The Owl Post with Dre Kaufman, talking about every single chapter of the Harry Potter series, one chapter at a time. You can also find me over on the TFM network, as aforementioned, 602 Club, talking about all of those franchises we love. Plus, I got a lot of Star Trek talk over there, The Orb, Warp 5, The Artificial Tango, Saddle Up, as well as sometimes literary treks. But John, I think if I remember correctly, there is supposed to be a big Freedom Day, Life Day. We're throwing all the fireworks day. So I think it's time to head back to the temple.
Oh, watch out. Negotiations are closed.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.